Well, the government of Zambia has announced plans to rebase the Kwacha over the next 6 months. This will involve retrieving old notes and reissuing new ones, reflecting the rebasing, as well as the reintroduction of coins for lower denominations. Joining us in studio for more on this is Simon Reid, Head of Africa Institutional Trading at Imara SP Reid. Simon, thanks so much for joining us today. Well, this week, as I say, we've seen the Minister of Finance and National Planning announce changes to be implemented by the Bank of Zambia, and one of them is the rebasing of the Zambia Kwacha. What exactly are we looking at here?
Look, all they're doing is following a trend that has been set in other countries. I mean, obviously, we saw this happen a number of times in Zim over the last decade. We've also seen Mozambique do it. And it usually comes after a period of sustained improvement in the management of the economy and the way that the authorities are going to manage that economy going forward. It's not something that you can just do when you start a recovery. Zambia's recovery is obviously well documented. I mean, it's nothing short of an economic miracle over the last 15 years. It's now time to get their currency back to a more manageable level on all fronts.
So let's take a look at why this makes sense now. I mean, you've highlighted at the top there, it makes things a lot more manageable.
Yes, it does. You know, what it should have, it's much like a share consolidation. It just makes the management of numbers throughout the whole economy far more easy. You know, your off-the-shelf accounting systems out there don't take into account these kinds of zeros. So all accounting packages in countries like Zambia have to be specifically tailor-made to cope with the amount of zeros involved, which adds cost. All this does across the economy is bring everything back in line to more international norms in terms of the cost of running things. And obviously, it obviously takes out a lot of data entry error. Absolutely. It's very easy with all of those zeros for data inputters across the board to make mistakes, which obviously cost time and therefore money.
So it's efficiency that's actually being sought after. Correct. At this stage. I mean, it's almost startling in its simplicity. Is it as simple as that? Retrieving old notes, reissuing new ones. Some commentary we've heard coming through from the ground over in Zambia is that the average Zambian doesn't know what rebasing is.
Not yet, he doesn't. But what will happen, you know, as said, it is phased in over a 6-month period. Economic transactions, well, money exchange always requires more than one person in that exchange. And in that, if there's a mistake made, one is going to profit over the other very easily, and you'll just find that the public will latch onto this very quickly. Even the simplest of Zambians will understand that the hard-earned kwacha in his pocket is worth X amount per good bought. And mistakes are actually very, very rare, and we have seen that across Africa. Once everybody understands that this is where the system is going, it kind of takes care of itself. And you know, again, you're dealing with people's real money in their pockets. It's not money sitting in a bank account and so on. So mistakes generally won't get made. So
it's an education that needs to happen overall, being implemented as we've highlighted over the next 6 months. It's a viable time frame then.
Correct, and the mere fact that they're taking off 3 zeros will take away any doubt that somebody's got the value of a transaction wrong. You know, it's quite a big rebase. So your differential between the two prices of a good when the time comes will be more than evident.
As you said, you know, we've been through this process before with the likes of Zimbabwe, with the likes of Mozambique as well. What lessons could be learned from those countries having ventured down those paths? Were there any challenges and hurdles experienced that Zambia needs to reflect back on?
Not really. I think, you know, all the authorities involved pretty much know where this is going, but what it does do, initially there will be a little bit of jumping around on where things should be priced, but very quickly that settles down, and it does have a very deflationary effect, particularly with the advent of coins coming into the market as well. It does mean that, let me use an example. If you've got a good or service worth 100,000 kwacha today, it's going to go down to I think what's it, 10 or 100 kwacha. All that's going to do on price expectations going forward. It's much more difficult for somebody to just add 1,000 or, you know, add 2% or 3% as it was easy before. If you've got something worth 100,000, if you make it worth 120,000, it's a 20% increase. But because of the way that the money works with all those zeros, people just tend to take that increase and move on. Now it becomes much more difficult to do that. Companies have got to be really careful about how and the percentages in which they put the increases through.
So as you highlighted there, a deflationary effect expected to come through. Price expectations tend to come back when a process like this is undergone. To what extent is the question?
Well, I mean, it's very difficult to forecast that, but it will lend itself to price stability going forward.